So the first enclosure we're going to look at are actually for my Rageris muylens, also known as Malpolon muylens. One second here. This is not a bioactive vivaria, it's just simply a naturalistic one, and so in this case, regular maintenance spot cleaning is done, especially with the little group that's in here. You can kind of see a couple of them. So these guys come from Egypt, Morocco, all surrounding Middle East area. They don't get very big. Like, this is literally as large as they get, for example. A little bit bigger, not by much. They like it very, very hot, 110 to 125 basking, and that gives them the Arcadia Dragon Lamp for UVB, which I believe is 14%. That gets checked every couple of weeks for UV exposure, make sure it's good and strong. And I have a group in here of 2.2, and you wouldn't think there is, but there is. They're all just hiding. Oh, there's one right there. Very active snakes. They always are making their own enclosure, essentially. Like, they're digging and they make mounds of it. This mound wasn't here when I did this enclosure up. All this sand they uplifted from underneath. It was like this, and they uplifted a lot of it. Actually, I keep digging and you'll see it. But anyway, so they're very cool snakes. They move a lot, they climb. Every night they sleep right up there for some strange reason. They all just pile together and sleep up there. They're great snakes. Not one I recommend handling. They have ginormous duvenary glands, or Duvernoy glands. Really, they're just venom glands. I don't know why they have such a crazy different name despite being for venom either way. I know they're built differently, but it still serves the same purpose. So I'm just going to refer to it as a venom gland because I can't say that word for the life of me. But anyway, they eat everything, whether it's geckos, quail, mice. When it comes to rodent diet, gotta be pretty careful as they get obese really easy. Let's see if you get one to kind of come out. Hey, buddy. I really try and refrain from touching them with my hands. They're very quick to bite when they want to. They do flare up with the hood. The super snazzy one is, of course, not around. She's hiding in here. That is one of the males. They tend to have a more darker blotched pattern compared to females, for example, more light toned. They're really cool. You know, they utilize every inch of this enclosure. And with these guys, I've noticed, and I'm not just saying this because bins are my favorite, but anytime these guys are in bins, you can't achieve the proper temperature. They get respiratory infection, they get gland infections. They're very, very well known, in my experience, to get gland infections. So this area here swells up and is very tough to get rid of. Unfortunately, with one of my originals in the big group I bought, a few came that way and did not survive. This one was actually one of them, and miraculously, I don't know, he was in such horrible shape we nicknamed her, or him, I think it's a her, I haven't sexed it yet, but we nicknamed it Zombie because it wasn't moving. I was so sure it was dying, and came around and is doing amazing now. Alright, got someone climbing up. For a so-called terrestrial species, they're very, very arboreal. So the next guys I'm going to show live in these tiny little nanos. They're very cool, very adorable. This is the female, Fuega trigonada. And currently I'm transitioning them over to pinkies. I still feed them geckos because it's more of a natural diet for them. Little girl. But, you know, for the times I need them to eat pinkies, it'd be nice where they kind of see that as a food source too. Still quite young, but adults only get to around 3 feet on average. You know, it's always different depending on the individual, but here we are. That's the female, and here's the male. What's really cool with these guys, their pattern is to mimic a saw-scale viper. It's really hard to see, but he's behind all the branching. But you can kind of get an idea here. Here we go. Very calm species considering the genus. And they don't climb all that often. They're more on the ground than any other Fuega I've ever kept. But they're gorgeous. I love them, and I'm really, really enjoying keeping them. Definitely a dream species right here. Not much else to be said. They like their lizards, and they're actually a desert species, where the rest of the genus is tropical. Next desert setup. This is, I think, the last one for the coolest little cats ever. Where are they? Oh, nope. I just saw you guys. Well, this is the enclosure. Oh, here's one. Hello. Australian earless dragons. These are fully grown, believe it or not. Oh, there's 2 right there. Wow. But there's a third somewhere. Oh, there she is, hiding in the brush. So they're very, very tiny. Very small, very active, very fast. They just came out of brumation recently. They have an LED and a sunblaster. I mean, not a sunblaster fixture, but it's a dragon lamp as well from Arcadia. Oh, and I forgot to mention with the Fuega trigonada, they also have a 10% UVB. I try and give everybody UVB. I find it helps them so much. These guys are really cool. They're fun to feed. Watch them run around, do their little micro dragon thing. But yeah, not much here. Again, not bioactive. Gotta do spot cleaning. But they are very fun. I would recommend these little guys to anybody. So this holds Mr. Skarulis. He is not a nice cookie. So we're just going to keep the glass between us. He's actually the first machete snake or fire snake or whatever common name you want to call them that came into my possession. A little backstory. This entire genus is known for horrible, horrible luck in terms of being wild caught and dying, unfortunately. Let's see if you'll let me kind of, for a better view. He's ready to bite. Anyway, these are strict frog eaters, and too often people try and get them on rodents. And just so you know, there's nothing wrong with his eye, that's just a shadow showing. People try and get them on rodents, and it usually doesn't work because they tend to regurge them. They don't digest very well. I've even tested once to get some weight on one of my females, well, my only female, I don't say one of, and I even skinned it, and she still couldn't digest it. So he came to me really rough shape, very skinny, dehydrated. A friend of mine actually got him looking a lot better than he did look originally, which kudos to her. She did a really good job considering the time frame. And he was one of those ones where I risked it. I'm like, screw it, you're going straight into a bioactive enclosure because of how stressy, I guess the word could be, how stressy they are. you put them in a sterile setup, you're basically asking for them to die, unfortunately. But that's just how it is with them. That's how a lot of them never make it out of a wholesaler's place. They just die because of the type of environment they're put into. And this guy turned around so well and so quickly, and honestly, you would never have guessed. He was so skinny and just horrible looking when he came in. I wasn't sure if he was going to survive, but here he is a year later. Actually, over a year later now. Time flew by. So that's him. He's pretty cool considering his bad attitude. Next is this enclosure. It was just around, like this one up here. It's empty. It's just there. So this is one of those ones that was just here, and my mom had 2 corn snakes for about 13 years, and she sent them up to me. So here they are. That's one of them. Cryptic basking under the UV. And the other one is half burrowed over here. Nothing too fancy. Let this enclosure grow in for a bit and then added the guys in. So that'll be one of my tips, because clearly I'm forgetting that already. When you're doing bioactive, don't add the inhabitants right away if you could avoid it. Allow the plants to settle and root, and they will flourish even under weight of heavier snakes. These corns are around 4 feet long. They're not lightweight, and you know what? They don't knock the plants down. They crawl right through them like nothing of it, and it doesn't even phase the plants. And this is one of my favorite setups I have. It's 5 feet by 2 feet by 3 feet. I believe that's a 6 or 8 inch dam. I forget. But it's one of my favorites and houses one of my favorite snakes I have. This is Big Red. And she's my biggest pain in the ass, but I love her anyway. Being Skarulis, they are picky as can be with food. Hi, girl. So getting weight on her is never easy. She's not severely underweight by any means. Like, the entire genus is supposed to have, try not to get my fingers too close, that ridge. That's very normal. They're supposed to have that. It's just keeping the weight on her because frogs digest so quickly, and she's just funny and only eats a couple at a time. So I have to trick her with quail and pretend they're frogs, which is not an easy task, but it works. She's amazing. She's actually around 7.5, 8 feet long. I wish I could get her a bigger enclosure, but I think this does for now. It's got running water, plants up the wazoo, climbing space, hiding space. She likes to hide under the leaf litter, makes her feel secure. And here, I smashed a bunch of cork apart, and then I glued it together to make this tree stump. Hollow inside, she could hide in there, which she does. And a hole there. Hard to really see with all the plant material, but it's bioactive. This enclosure I've had running as a bioactive now, oh gosh, for at least 5 years now, and it's so well established. I can never find poops, ever, even with the most rampant of colubrids. Like, I'll get the odd urate stain like that. That's a quick rinse and wash, clean it off, and there you go. So one thing with bioactive, again, as it came with the corn snake enclosure, let things root. And it's so important because otherwise you get this sad looking plant. Trying to get it to bounce back, it's not going well. Leaf litter, very, very important. I literally pay people to hunt down oak leaves for me because where I'm living, we don't have oak trees in my area. It looks like I have to top up the oak again soon. Isopods eat it. It actually helps absorb any not so favorable smells and allows the inhabitants to hide. And it looks nice. It looks more natural, right? So that's that. She has an Arcadia Jungleton LED, and she has a 6% UVB from Arcadia. And when needed, that little basking light, just a halogen on a dimmer. It doesn't like turn on very often unless it's cold in winter, and that's the only time. And this enclosure, poor sad plant. It's seen better days, but that's okay. I'll explain a couple things here. This doodad, put in here, quick, easy reading. 70% humidity. Average ambient right now is 82 Fahrenheit. Pretty cool little gadget. I like it. But you always have to give it a few minutes. I keep them in the enclosure, turn it on, and it'll pretty much give me an instant reading. Otherwise, it's going to be everywhere. So in here, we have Dendrobium Cyanochorus. We got a pair. Let's see. I see one. I thought they're very tiny little shoestrings. I don't know where the big girl is right now. Well, big. She's not very big. Probably hiding somewhere. But these guys eat geckos. Thankfully they take frozen thawed. But I got a couple of gnolls living in here just in case. Running water, mangrove tree, then lots of leaf litter for a bioactive setup. And various plants just everywhere. Got a hollow log there. Hiding. Huh, there's the big girl. And a little wave at me. Kind of shake their body a little bit. And they feel a little threatened. And they're quite quick. There you go. But they have also LED, UVB, and the basking light whenever they need it. Got super cool snakes. Despite their diet requirements, they're very much out in the open at all times. Very beautiful. Yeah, see a nice close up. Thought this guy going for it because he likes to try and get out. Let's look at that. Beautiful, beautiful blues. They show off. I mean, you can't get prettier than that. He has them too. They're just not showing so much right now. She's really good. She's not afraid of me by any means. Very, very underrated snake. I'd recommend them to anybody as long as he gives them what they need. And they're very easy to take care of. And this enclosure. Probably some of my favorite girls in here. Because they're amazing. Garters are also very underrated. Very cool though. Very, very cool snakes. A lot of trust building with them. But they're okay with me, which is all that matters. Can't even focus. Here we go. Oops. So they're probably one of my favorites. I don't mind being touched. They come out to greet, so to speak, when I open the enclosure. And there's this random sinus. But no plans to breed ever. They're all females. They're just cool to have around. There's the other girl there. Gotta do some maintenance in there today. But that's the garter enclosure. And here holds the beast. Stone was very awesome to gift this beautiful, beautiful false water cobra. She knows she's not getting fed. It's the only time she'll come to me. But she's a micro savage. One way to put it. Likes to murder, so I'm not gonna keep my fingers in there too long. False water cobras are a species I've bred a while ago. For several years in a row. They were actually the first reptile I've ever bred. And kind of haven't had them in a long time, and it's very cool to have one back. She's a good garbage can too, despite being how tiny she is. Again, bioactive. Little pool. And she just cruises around, does her thing, flares up, gets all dramatic. Fun times. These guys want to be boring. The male's hiding. But I got a pair of Goniosoma oxycephalum, red-tailed green rat snake that actually derived from Borneo. This female, when she's older, will be golden yellow and green, actually, with hopefully a blue tail. I'd show you the difference with the male, but he's pretty MIA right now. He's probably hiding in this log. He is actually very, very dark colored. And actually, while on the subject of just substrates bioactive, with them I keep the soil a little drier. They seem to be really prone to respiratory infection. So this is just a bioactive in the middle of growing still. Like, it's very open. They're not bothered by it, thankfully. So I'm waiting for that to grow out. So it's gonna be very bare for now. But it works. They do fine. I need to add more isopods still. But UVB, LED for the plants. Still works. Hopefully in a few months' time I'll update with what it looks like. So bins, guys. I'm just gonna remove the water bowl quickly here. Sorry. A little angry. I'm sorry. Very, very simple. Got about an inch of EcoEarth. I never, ever, ever keep EcoEarth wet in bins. You're asking for problems with that. Bins are terrible for airflow. So when people say, oh, you know, my snake's sick, you can't do naturalistics in bins. You definitely can. You just need to find the right makeup. I cut a hole in the front. I screened it. I keep the EcoEarth dry on top. The underlayer can be wet. That's no issue. Like damp, not soaking wet. Keep the top layer dry and you won't have issues. I've been keeping Fuega juveniles successfully this way. Come on. And this guy's in shed. Sorry about the box. But you know what? It works. Fake plant, cork to hide, stick to climb, water bowl, and you will do just fine. Very simple. This entire setup costed me a stick outside, piece of cork I had laying around, $4 off of Amazon for the fake plant, and a quarter of a $3 brick of EcoEarth. And just some time there to cut a hole. Simple. And here's another example. He needs an upgrade soon, but so far so good. Sorry, did spill a little bit of water, but again, dry EcoEarth, fake plant, couple cork branches and stuff. Perfectly done for a mangrove snake. Little screen. And you know what? These guys do so much better this way than in sterile basic bins. I used to breed these guys on the regular until I started importing them, and I just stopped breeding my own. I just don't have the time anymore to work on babies because they're next level pain in the butt, to be completely honest, to get feeding. But they do so much better, I find, in these setups. And the ones I'm importing, I still have to get them eating, sorry. And I find they switch over to rodents from assist feeding very quickly, or scenting seems to work very well for them. Again, very cheap setup right here. Costed me no more than $10 minus the bin. And yeah, like, why not? It's super easy. The snake could utilize more space, interact, shed easier by rubbing onto the the bark. I will note I do not really advocate free handling mangroves. Babies are just babies. They're very small still, so I kind of give them the benefit of the doubt. But adults are hook only with gloves. Always. Anyway, hopefully you guys weren't too overly bored. I'm gonna go through some information now. Hopefully my face doesn't get eaten off by Big Red. So, just some things here. When you're doing bioactive enclosures, like, this is the dam. This is my hand. There's a lot of freaking dirt in here. You don't have to go this deep, but I do because of large plants in here. What this mixture is, I don't even know. A lot of dirt over time, sand, moss, eco-earth, cocoa husk, whatever, you know, it's substrates mixed in over time, and now it's just this beautiful, loomy soil that you could compress to an extent, but immediately crumbles. That's the kind of consistency you want, or it's kind of cool to the touch as well. You don't want it crumbling and dry for a successful bioactive vivaria, because otherwise your plants are not going to root, they're not going to thrive. I even put like a bacteria into my enclosures along with fungus spores. I'll go through more detail on that another time. But basically it creates a natural nitrogen cycle where the ammonia from the poop, from isopods from the snakes, gets converted into nitrates, and then the nitrates thus feed the plants, and the cycle continues. So that way you're not just stuck with ammonia in your ground and still basically being a toxic environment. There's more to it than just dirt and leaves and isopods. Like, you need your microfauna too, and I don't mean micro as in, again, your isopods or your springtails. Like, you need beneficial bacteria. Just like a fish tank where you cycle things and that bacteria will eat the ammonia, and then the nitrifying bacteria will then eat nitrites to turn into nitrates, and in this case the plants feed off the nitrates and bloom and grow. So it's a forever cycle of it's literally a circle of life in the ground. And with that, you don't have to worry about toxic buildup. It's so very important to have that, and it's something I strongly encourage. Unfortunately not easily found. I've been kind of behind on it, but if anyone ever needs it, I can supply you guys with this bacteria and the fungal spores. And if you guys are wondering, why fungal spores? Well, I can't pronounce the name. It starts with an M. Oh crap. But the fungal spores will attach around the root base of the plants and help pretty much feed the plants the nitrates that the bacteria make. I'm trying to open this darn thing. Hold on. Here we go. So in here, fungal spores, bacteria goodness, all kicking around in there. Don't need a lot. A very small amount actually. We'll do this entire vivarium, and I'll seed it maybe twice just to be sure. And honestly, the quality of my plants, the soil, it's absolutely amazing. I couldn't ask for something better. It's doing what it does, and I haven't had to do a substrate change for several years, honestly. And you would never even know it. Considering her, she's a big pooper. But where? There's literally no poop in here. It's crazy. Takes time to learn, but you know what? Once you get it going, it's sometimes a lifesaver in terms of the species you deal with. If you get too busy with life, it's its own small ecosystem. I know I didn't get to my tips, tricks, and do's and don'ts too much, but you know what? I'll get to that another time.